They do it on the left. They do it on the right. They gaslight you. They manipulate you. They promote narratives. And the only one who's not doing that is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
You a fan?
Yeah, I am a fan. Yeah, he's the only one that makes sense to me. He's the only one that he doesn't attack people. He attacks actions and ideas, but he's much more reasonable and intelligent. I mean, the guy was an environmental attorney and cleaned up the East River. I mean, he's a legitimate guy.
Joe Rogan is getting canceled, as I'm sure you probably heard, because he endorsed RFK Jr. and said that he's not going to vote for Donald Trump, obviously, if he's endorsing RFK Jr. And he's used to getting canceled, right? Joe Rogan has been canceled a million times over for things that he said on the Joe Rogan Experience, but it's normally not from the right wing. It's normally not from, Tim Pool's audience and these types of people who are really going after Joe Rogan hardcore. Let me know in the comments, are you guys angry at what Joe Rogan has said about him not voting for Donald Trump and voting for RFK? If you haven't seen it, I'll play you the clip here. But Joe Rogan actually responded to all of this backlash, as well as people like Tim Pool responding to this backlash and these people trying to cancel Joe Rogan for, endorsing RFK and saying that he's not going to vote for Donald Trump. Let's get into this video here from Joe Rogan, having him saying that he's going to vote for RFK, and then we're going to get into the backlash and the response from Joe Rogan himself.
Those are designed to keep people from spitting into open wounds,
right?
And dropping particles out of their mouth into people's surgeries.
No,
we're so susceptible to manipulation, and that's what's really scary about the time that we're living in, because we have so much access to information, but yet so many people are willing to put the blinders on and go full steam ahead with whatever their team wants. Like there was this ridiculous video the other day, comics for Kamala.
Oh,
did you see that?
No, what I saw, white men for Kamala. Was that it?
There's white dudes for Kamala. This is all organized, by the way. And there was a Twitch streamer, like one of the big time Twitch streamers, one of the big guys, who read out what they were offering him. They were offering him money to advocate for Kamala Harris online. He's like, I am not fucking doing this. And so he's
what he's talking about is, in response to Donald Trump going on Aiden Ross's stream, because obviously that makes Donald Trump look really good, especially the way he acted on the stream. He connected with Aiden Ross really well, and it just looked really good for Donald Trump. Kamala Harris obviously wants to be looked at as the cool, young, hip candidate, and she wants to be connected in that culture as well. So they're begging Kai Cenat, the biggest Twitch streamer, I think, to be on his stream, and they're offering him a ton of money and all this stuff, and he's just saying no. And he's saying repeatedly, stop calling me. Like, he's saying that the Secret Service is calling him, Kamala's people keep calling him, trying to get him to let Kamala Harris on his show, and he just keeps saying no, and they won't leave him alone. So they're desperate. This whole campaign around Kamala Harris is very astroturfed. Joe Rogan can see it. At least he's saying that he can see it. I'm going to go into why I still think Joe Rogan is a little brainwashed on this situation here in a second. But let's get back into what Joe Rogan's saying here.
He's like reading this thing where they're offering money. They're literally paying for astroturfing.
Yeah. The most egregious thing I've seen recently, after everything.
And by the way, Kamala Harris is trying to pay Kai Cenat. I guarantee you Aiden Ross had to pay Donald Trump a ton of money to get him on his Twitch stream. It's not the same. People would love to have Donald Trump on their streams. Nobody wants Kamala Harris on their streams. Nobody.
Of the past 8 years, 9 years, it's hard to get pissed off genuinely anymore. But is now all the left people saying that Trump is afraid to debate Trump? Or that Trump is afraid to debate Kamala. And I saw this meme of Trump as like the cowardly lion. Everyone's like, he's never going to show up. And it's like, you said the exact same thing about Biden. The exact same thing. And Trump went in there and was just like, it was, oh man. The guy who got shot in the face like 2 days ago and said, fight, 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 is scared to debate Kamala.
Yeah, it seems ridiculous, but that's just what they do. That's politics. They do it on the left. They do it on the right. They gaslight you. They manipulate you. They promote narratives. And the only one who's not doing that is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
You a fan?
Yeah, I am a fan. Yeah, he's the only one that makes sense to me. He's the only one that he doesn't attack people. He attacks actions and ideas, but he's much more reasonable and intelligent. I mean, the guy was an environmental attorney and cleaned up the East River. I mean, he's a legitimate guy. Before anybody started calling him an anti-vaxxer, which I thought he was too. I thought he was this nut, this like conspiracy theorist nut, until I read.
The unfortunate thing, I don't agree with a lot of things that RFK wants to do. I believe he's very pro-choice and he wants to like ease up on the abortion stuff, which is only left up to the states now. And, you guys know my stance on it. I think everything should be left up to the states. I don't think the federal government should be making any actual decisions. I think they should put up guardrails and say these states can't go outside of these guardrails, but I think each individual state should be able to decide every single law, such as, the abortion laws and stuff like that. I don't think that needs to change. I think that's perfectly fine as it is. So I don't want that to change. I also think RFK is in favor of gun control. So obviously don't like that. And I'm surprised that Joe Rogan likes that. What's unfortunate though, is I think a lot of other things that RFK does believe in, I align with, but he doesn't have a chance to win for the simple fact of what Joe Rogan is saying right here. Because he's not attacking people, because he's only focused on policy and attacking ideas, that's why he's not going to win. That's why he has no chance of winning. Not to mention he's also a third party, so he doesn't really have a chance anyway. But even if he was part of the Democrat Party, he wouldn't have a chance to win if he runs a campaign like this, because people are only interested in memes and attacking the other side and funny nicknames and stuff like that. People don't care about policy anymore. Nobody cares about that. It's always been a popularity contest, but it's more of a high school popularity contest now than it is a presidential popularity contest. It's literally nothing to do with policy or anything. It's just, how much can you meme the other side? How much dunks can you get on the other side? And that's basically how people make their decision. And because RFK Jr. is doing what Joe Rogan is saying and not even going for those things, well, he's not going to win. He's just not.
Read his book. I read The Real Anthony Fauci, and I'm like, what is it? How much of this is real? Because if it's all real, this is fucking insane. And we live in a world where we're being manipulated by these health organizations that are being paid by the pharmaceutical drug interests. And these pharmaceutical drug companies are pumping these products out into the population and telling us that we need them, and then making insane amounts of money. And then also the government is in on it, and also they share a patent with Moderna, and also they share profits, and there's $700 million, however much money was made, whatever the number is that these guys made off of these products. All of it is fucking crazy. There's the revolving door between the CDC and the FDA and then these pharmaceutical drug companies. So the people that make the regulations then go on to have these cushy jobs with the pharmaceutical drug corporations. Nothing to see here. It's open. It's right out in the open.
Right.
And when he talks about all that stuff in his book, you're just like, what the fuck, man? If this wasn't true, he would be sued.
Yeah, but
it seems to be true.
And it is. It is crazy, the things that RFK has exposed, and I really do appreciate him doing that. Anyway, let's get into, obviously, the responses to this clip here were not good on social media. I believe I have the Colin Rugg tweet pulled up here, and here's Joe Rogan responding to it. But as you can see, Colin Rugg here tweeted this out. Let me make sure this is on the screen for you guys to see properly. There we go. Okay. So Colin Rugg tweeted this out. It's a clip of exactly what we just saw, so we're not going to watch it again. But it says, happening now, right-wing X is shredding Joe Rogan for endorsing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. during his podcast to claim Joe Rogan endorsed RFK Jr. for president. What Rogan said, that's politics. They do on the left. We just saw what happened in that clip. So there's a ton of people in the comments here that are trying to cancel him. We have this tweet here from Cat Turd saying, well, this is actually about Tim Pool, but you get the picture. People are trying to cancel Joe Rogan left, right, and center. And here is Joe Rogan's response to him getting canceled by the right wing, by Tim Pool fans and stuff like that. And we're going to get into some Tim Pool tweets here in a second too. But here's Joe Rogan says, for the record, this is not an endorsement. This is me saying that I like RFK Jr. as a person, and I really appreciate the way he discusses things with civility and intelligence. I think we could use more of that in this world. I also think Trump raising his fist and saying fight after getting shot is one of the most American effing things of all time. I'm not the guy to get political information from sorry, I lost my spot there. I'm not the guy to get political information from. If you want that from a comic, go to Comic Dave Smith. He actually knows what he's talking about. He does. Dave Smith is actually he's one of my favorites nowadays. I didn't like him at first, or I didn't really feel strongly one way or the other, but now I definitely see the hype around Dave Smith because he says a lot of things that most people are just, they're too scared to say, because they know they're going to get shunned. They know they're going to get the Candace Owens treatment if they say it. But here we also have Tim Pool, who was trying to defend Joe Rogan, which, by the way, I think that's a great response from Joe Rogan, and I think it's good for our movement, because I do think we need people like Joe Rogan to be on our side if we are going to win, because they're spending so much money on astroturfing this Kamala Harris campaign. And we all kind of know that it's astroturfed. We all know it's like fake support, but most people in the world are sheeps. 90% of people, I would say, are sheeps. And whether or not it's fake support, in their eyes, they just see support. They just see people that are supporting Kamala Harris, whether it's astroturfed or not, and they're just going to fall in line because that's how most people's brains work. They don't want to do their own thinking. They just see, oh, look, all this support for Kamala, let me also support her. So we need people like Joe Rogan who are just average guys who, let's be real, a lot of the sheep are going to just fall in line with whatever he says. And if he says that he's not supporting Donald Trump, well, that's a lot of voters that are probably lost for Donald Trump. And as you know, the Kamala Harris AstroTurf campaign picks up more and more steam, and more people are seeing that on social media, or more people are going to fall in line with him too, or with her too. So we need people like Joe Rogan to probably say that they're going to vote for Trump, and say that we need Kamala Harris to lose. If we're going to, you know, put this country in the right direction, and I think that Donald Trump has to win this next election if that's going to happen. You know, it's really about Kamala Harris losing. Which it sucks that what every election comes down to nowadays is like, we just can't let the other side win. You know, it sucks that's what it comes down to. But that is what it is. You know, if RFK Jr. were the opposite candidate from Kamala Harris, then I would say let's all get on board and vote for RFK Jr. But you know, I disagree with a lot of things that he says, but I also disagree with a lot of things that Trump says as well. That Trump says, you know, stuff about. He's not necessarily as hardcore as he once was, or as I once thought he was. Now he's very much trying to gain like the middle of the road people and get them on his side. And I wish he would just go a little bit more hardcore and just be who I know that Trump is deep down. I wish he would just go back to that guy that he was whenever he first came onto the scene. Let's check out what Tim Pool had to say though. He says the cringiest thing imaginable right now is that MAGA diehards are shitting on Joe Rogan. Make more enemies, burn more. If you're fed up with all the woke nonsense happening in the world like I am, go check out bringtheasteroid.shop, where we just released some new designs that look great and also allow you to express to everyone that you are just tired of the direction that America is going in right now, and that you're just like me and many others that watch this channel and watch Bring the Asteroid as well, and you just want it to go back to how it used to be. Check out bringtheasteroid.shop. We are limited on supplies for this drop, so if you want one, I would suggest that you go ahead and act soon. Let's get back to the video. More bridges. And then obviously, you know, that got a ton of backlash. So cat turds here. The cringiest thing imaginable right now is the podcast bros, diehard fence riders, simping for Bernie bro Joe Rogan, who literally just endorsed weirdo RFK Jr. and refuses to interview Trump and pretend he's somehow on our side. Speaking of burning bridges, dude, cat turd had a bit of a meltdown here. I'm not gonna lie, but I see where he's coming from, where, you know, Joe Rogan will interview everybody except for Trump, and it seems like he's fence riding and stuff like that. I just think Joe Rogan is he's not ever going to be, he never was completely on our side. It's just kind of like everybody who is not clinically insane felt like we're on the same side fighting against the insanity. Joe Rogan was never on our side. Joe Rogan has always been a Democrat and has always been more liberal than most of us who watch these kinds of videos and stuff like that, at least more than me, you know? And I think RFK Jr. represents the Democratic Party that Joe Rogan used to know and that he used to support, that he used to vote in favor of. That's kind of like what RFK Jr. represents now. So that's why he likes him so much. I don't think Joe Rogan was ever completely on our side. And I think that's okay, you know, because he's still against the insanity that is the world today. But a lot of people are trying to cancel him for this. They completely turned on him. Tim Pool, trolling, obviously says, okay, I'm voting for RFK Jr. now because Tim Pool got so much backlash on his tweet defending Joe Rogan. RFK Jr. actually responded and thought that, you know, he was taking Tim Pool seriously and said, I'm so grateful to you, Tim, for your confidence in me, but most of all, your steadfast defense of the Constitution and relentless love for our country. Kind of sad that he thought Tim Pool was being serious. And then Tim Pool responded to that, said, you're a good dude, brother. I was trolling the haters, but in all honesty, I do intend to vote for Trump. I hope to see you in the end, be a part of his administration, and help fight against environmental toxins and big pharma. Tim Pool also says, in response to his own tweet, yes, I am trolling in response to people attacking Joe Rogan and Kyle Rittenhouse. There is no real argument against voting Trump, but F me, some of these diehard MAGAs are destructive as the leftists. I have to agree. You know, if we're going to act like a cult, like I was saying, I think we need Joe Rogan on our side. People like Joe Rogan, not just him, but people like Joe Rogan on our side if we're going to win this next election. It seems like Joe Rogan is on our side in terms of going against Kamala Harris, going against the insanity. But it is very cult-like. It is very exactly what we've kind of been criticizing the left of being. It is cult-like by saying that Joe Rogan is not allowed to have his own opinion. Joe Rogan is not allowed to vote for anybody except for Donald Trump. That is very cult-like. And I think that's what a lot of people have been criticizing the left over. That's what I have been. So I think it'd be hypocritical of me to get angry and try to cancel Joe Rogan because he's voting for RFK Jr. I think that's a little ridiculous, you know, but I hope he is on our side at the end of the day. When it comes down to election time, I hope he is saying, guys, we need Kamala Harris to lose. Like that's the bottom line. And to do that, Donald Trump has the best chance of winning. So we're going to go ahead and vote for him. Hopefully RFK just drops out of the race. That'd be ideal scenario. But Cat Turd, as I pulled up earlier, had this tweet too, where he responded to RFK Jr. responding to Tim Pool, saying that he's going to vote for him. Cat Turd says, never doubt me when I call out these losers. They switch candidates every time the wind blows. Like, the guy's having a meltdown, man. I like a lot of Cat Turd's tweets, but this is a complete meltdown here. When I call out these losers, they switch candidates every time the wind blows, while we never change, never stop fighting, and hold the line year after year. They'll say whatever gets them their next $1 million and more attention to their gigantic egos. Be careful who you follow. And I mean, Tim Pool trolls all day, every day on Twitter. Like that's what Tim Pool does. I think it was very obviously a troll, you know, but I don't know. Maybe it's not as obvious to some people. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this whole Joe Rogan situation. It's getting pretty wild, and I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon. I think people are still going to try to cancel him until they're going to try to force him into saying that he's voting for Trump. And I don't think Joe Rogan's the type of guy to back down to that kind of pressure. So I think we're probably going to burn the bridge, probably going to push him away because of those types of people. But let me know in the comments what you're thinking about Joe Rogan kind of endorsing RFK, even though he said it's not an official endorsement, but saying that he's probably going to vote for RFK is what it seems like. And then obviously the right wing trying to cancel Joe Rogan. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole Joe Rogan versus the right wing situation.